wanted to put enough hours within WWE 2K25, make sure I beat every single mode, try out every single thing that this game has to offer before I gave you my judgment. And enough time has passed with WWE 2K25 to give you my brutally honest review. Hi, what's going on? I'm Jesse. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Shoot. It's time to give you my full, brutally honest review of WWE 2K25. But first, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's an absolutely free way to support this channel. Well, there's no better way to kick this thing off than talking about WWE 2K's favorite addition to these games, and that is the Showcase mode. The first time I dove into Showcase, I was at Creator Fest, and Lionel Jinx was really adamant about me trying the opening scene to the Showcase mode. I told him that I really didn't want to play Showcase while I was at Creator Fest. I just kind of wanted to save it until I got home, but he actually convinced me to sit down and try at least the opening scene. Diving into the Showcase mode, I got to play the opening scene of WrestleMania 40, going into the Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match, and this whole scene was a great way to kick off the Showcase. You had first-person cameras going crazy, and it gave you a completely different perspective going into the Showcase mode. This left me hoping that the rest of the Showcase was going to be similar to this and give us that first-person look, different camera angles, different cutscenes, and putting the controller more into your hands and really getting you immersed within the Showcase mode. But unfortunately, that was not the case. As soon as the game released, we all got a taste of WWE 2K25 Showcase mode, and it pretty much felt like Showcase. The objectives were less, and it did feel like this was probably one of the best Showcase modes that they have released yet, but it still just felt like Showcase, and there was still many moments of just completely taking me out of each and every match that I played, and it just left me wanting to get this thing over with and never touch this mode again. They gave us things like timed objectives, which some people had a lot of trouble with them. I personally didn't have too much trouble with the timed objectives, but nonetheless, they weren't fun, and it just left you wanting to get over with this. I wish that they would have taken that opening cutscene from WrestleMania 40 and just gave us an entire Showcase just like that. That would have left everybody immersed. It would have left everybody wanting to replay it. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest flaws that Showcase has going into each and every WWE 2K game, is it just doesn't have any replayability. Once you are done with this, nobody is going back to this mode. 2K needs to figure out a way to make players come back to this mode and leave them wanting to play this mode again and get them immersed in this mode in some form or fashion, because this thing is just not fun. Diving into the universe mode, man, the universe mode this year is a lot better, and it is a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, universe mode has always been left with bugs and frustration for players, and just leaving us wanting more to the mode. Things like run-in paybacks don't work. They still don't have backstage interactions. There's no parking lot rivalry interactions. There's no show intros. There's no wrestlers showing to the building. There just needs to be more within this mode that gives the players that WWE experience. The Royal Rumble isn't working. Your opponents are just kind of sliding out and eliminating themselves, though. It is an hilarious glitch to see for yourself. It shouldn't be in the game, and it shouldn't be a problem. How long have we had the Royal Rumble within a WWE 2K game or WWE games in general? For the Royal Rumble to not work is a huge flaw going into this. Granted, this can be fixed with a patch later, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. But on the bright side, we have a new calendar. We can put 2-night PLEs. We can have different shows on the same day within WWE Universe mode. We also have the addition of promos making their way back to the franchise, and some would count this as a negative because there's no dialogue within the promos, and there's no way to type out your own dialogue. There's no voiceovers. There's things like that that players are kind of wondering when these things are coming. But for me, I will take the no dialogue over the dialogue that they used to write in the old 2K games any day of the week, because it was corny, didn't match the characters. It didn't seem realistic to me to even have the promo section there. I just wish we had more options within the promos. Things like backstage interviews, things like promos even on the stage. You should have an option to choose where you cut the promo from. But all in all, I actually enjoy promos within the universe mode this year. Another negative that comes to mind for the universe mode is there's still no number one contenders matches, and you still cannot do a rivalry action within the PLE section, which to me blows my mind that this is not added in to WWE 2K25. So looking at all the negatives, I am having fun within the universe mode this year, and I'm actually going to continue to play universe mode this year because they definitely took this thing a step in the right direction. GM mode, man, let's just talk about it. I have been talking about GM mode online for a very, very long time on this channel. And though we're going to get to the online portion of GM mode, let's just talk about some of the things that they've changed within GM mode. The thing that frustrates me about GM mode is they overcomplicate the hell out of this mode. They charge too much for superstars to the point to where you are struggling to keep a good roster afloat. 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up purchasing some of these terrible CAWs that 2K creates, and you're just going to end up having to import those within your roster. You're not going to have a Roman Reigns all season. You're not going to have a CM Punk all season or a Cody Rhodes. Instead, you're going to have some of these generic CAWs that 2K makes just to get your show by on the next calendar. They make it nearly impossible to have fun within MyGM mode, and I was hoping that this was going to get changed for WWE 2K25. And some people like the challenge that way, but for me, it completely takes it out of it if I can't use the WWE stars that I want to use within this mode. Not only that, they have made injuries even harder this year. So putting titles on the line, getting good match types, things like that, you're really taking a risk with putting your superstars on the line in these type of matches, because if they get injured, they're out for even longer this year. Everything is extremely difficult this year, and that is the way they did it by design, and it is just crazy to me that they overcomplicated this mode. GM is a lot different this year because now when you get to the PLEs, you are now introduced into brand warfare. At the start of your card and at the end of your card, you are going up against all the brands that you are competing against, and to me, I'm not a fan of this. If I wanted to book my show, I would like to book my own PLE on the side. But since you did add brand warfare within WWE 2K25, you really missed the boat when it comes to the online portion. Online is finally here for MyGM mode, and they have just made it to where you can only simulate the matches online with your friends. Even though we have brand warfare, they completely missed the boat on at least letting players play the beginning match and the end match of PLEs. You don't have to have them play every match within your shows that they're creating, what they're simulating. I understand that was going to take way too long, but when it comes to the PLEs, and that is leading up to all the battles and all the ratings that you're trying to earn within MyGM mode, I feel like they really missed the boat on not allowing us to at least play these matches online and experience that for ourselves. I get why they did it, because it takes a long time to book your show as is, so they didn't want people playing every match. That part I understand, but when you get to the PLE and you can't play the brand warfare matches, that kind of defeats the purpose in my opinion. This is something I really hope gets corrected within WWE 2K26 or whatever they're coming out with next year. You gotta update the MyGM online. You gotta allow us to at least play a couple of matches within the PLEs. If you're not going to stick with brand warfare next year, which honestly I kind of hope you don't, but if you do, it only makes sense to allow us to at least play the brand warfare matches when it comes to the online portion of the game. MyRise this year, surprisingly, I have really nothing negative to say about the mode. I'm going to nitpick the mode because it's a review and there are things that I would like to see changed, but for the most part, MyRise absolutely crushed it this year. MyRise was the funnest MyRise that I've ever played in a WWE 2K game, and I feel like they just got it right. There was not a lot of extra fluff in the side missions, and it just stuck to the main story, and I absolutely loved this because I hated all the side quests and all the stupid shit that you would have to do within WWE 2K24, 23, 22. The side quests were just absolutely brutal. They got rid of all of that. Unfortunately, they still kept annoying things like the social media stuff on the phone, and they still did not have a chapter select, making us go within this mode to play this mode 5 different times and not have a chapter select is absolutely bonkers in my opinion. But other than that, fantastic job with the MyRise. MyRise crushed this year, and it was a lot of fun. Even though I had to play it 5 times over, there were different cutscenes and different scenarios that took place within the MyRise that didn't make it brutal. It wasn't like you were just replaying the same story every single time. You can choose different pathways to take within the MyRise, so at least they changed up just a little bit. So fantastic job on the MyRise. I absolutely loved playing that this year. Best mode in WWE 2K25. Diving into MyFaction, man, you're gonna have your pros, you're gonna have your cons. They did replace Proving Grounds this year with World Tour, which the aesthetic looks great, the UI looks great. There are a lot of pleasing things about World Tour this year over a Proving Grounds selection. I personally enjoyed the way that they did World Tour this year. They did add a lot of new match types, so you don't get to experience the same thing over and over again. Unfortunately, they added the worst of the worst match types when it comes to some of these things. You got Royal Rumble in there, you got Iron Man matches, you have War Games matches, and everybody's absolute favorite casket matches. And all these matches are not fun to play long term. They put you in multiple War Games matches, multiple Iron Man matches, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. MyFaction is actually pretty good this year. It's a lot of fun. There are a lot of different things within MyFaction to keep you busy. Tons of live events, tons of weekly towers, tons of faction wars, tons of World Tour. There is a lot to accomplish within MyFaction, especially if you like to play that online rank play. But it also comes with its negatives. We do not have a trade market. We don't have an auction market. We don't have a better way to earn MyFaction points within this game. VC still costs the same, guys. MyFaction points are still few and far between to come by. You're gonna have to grind your ass off. You're gonna have to do a lot, the most, to get MyFaction points. And Faction Wars is still the same to me. It's just bland and lame as hell and not fun to grind on. And unfortunately, this is what we're going to have once your live events are done, once your weekly towers are done, and once your World Tour is done. You only have Faction Wars to complete to get MyFaction points, and there's really not enough to earn within MyFaction because the cards, the packs, everything is still highly overpriced, and that is frustrating as somebody who just got into MyFaction last year. I actually really enjoyed MyFaction last year. I do enjoy it this year still, but when it comes down to pulling packs, they leave it quite difficult to rank up within this game unless you're spending some money. I'm gonna be real. The major positive that I've seen so far in MyFaction is that they are actually providing more Persona cards this year. The problem and the complaint that I have is all these cards are the exact same Personas that I grinded my ass off for last year to get, just to pop in this year and get the same damn thing that I had. And that is pretty frustrating in my opinion. The Island. Yeah, I was actually really looking forward to this mode. The Island was something that was pushed as the ultimate online experience with you and your friends, and this thing is far from that. It is far from a great experience with any friend. You have nothing to do within the Island when it comes to a friend. They completely missed the boat their first year of the Island. Granted, I know this is the first year. They're probably going to come back next year and make it to where you can do tag teams with friends. You can spectate, you can do all the things, but you cannot do any of that this year. And this is the year that you should have proven yourself when it comes to the Island in WWE 2K25. This Island is probably the most bland thing that I've experienced within a WWE 2K game. It leaves you wanting to just get out of this mode immediately. Just not spend any money, don't play it. There's nothing to do. It's just a story. Once you're done with the story, get on out of there. That's how I feel when I hop into the Island. Though the Island is multiple seasons within the year, so hopefully there is something that they can add to where you can spectate your friends wrestling in a match. You can go online and play tag team matches with your friends, but there's no interactivity when it comes to friends on the Island. You can just pretty much go into the same server, and if you as so much as just go into a store, it automatically separates the servers that you and your friends are in. So pretty much the only thing that you have to do in the Island with a friend is just go look at the landmarks and look at the environment pretty much of the Island. That's all there is to do with friends. So hopefully some of these updates later on throughout the year, they update something to where we can at least spectate, we can go and have some tag matches with friends, do something to where it it allows some fun within this mode. At some point, we have got to make this worth it for the players to jump into these modes to actually want to grind them. There's no point to go in and earn only 150 VC. This is not getting us nothing. You know how many matches you have to play to just go buy a Rey Mysterio mask or some Jordans out of the shop? It's not happening, bud. Once again, this is forcing players to want to spend money on VC, and I get it. It's a business. I understand that, definitely from a business perspective. I'm a YouTuber. This is a business. But at the same time, you gotta give the people what they want. And that brings me into online, man. This year, I thought the most for online. I really, really did have hope when it comes to online for WWE 2K25. This year, it was supposed to be our year, man. I grew up playing the SmackDown vs. Raw games, the early 2K games, and that is pretty much what kept me playing these games all year long, was online play. This year, I was really hoping to get right back into the online play, and for the most part, when the online works, it works great. When it works, it's fantastic. There's no lag. If you have good connections, you're fine. The problem lies with certain actions happening within the match when it comes to multi-man matches that will just cause the server to disconnect all players, completely break you out of the match. And this happens at least 60% of the time when you're playing multi-man matches online. The pin meter was broken for some time. I'm not sure if that's still broken, but also custom rules were broken. Pretty much anything custom online has always been a complete nightmare when it comes to these 2K games. So hopefully some patches down the line will fix things like that. But unless you're just playing 1v1, like I said, in the island, if you're playing 1v1 matches, you're absolutely fine. But in 2025, there should be so much more for a WWE game when it comes to online play, especially for people who run eFed leagues, things like that. There's got to be a fix for the online, and we've got to see more love. The creation suite, I'm not going to speak too much on because I'm not a creator, but I do know that a lot of creators are frustrated with the creation suite this year in WWE 2K25. There are tons of bugs that have not been addressed within the creation suite, and they completely just changed up everything on these guys. And some of our creators, most of our creators, are fantastic that keep these games going all year long for most people when it comes to community creations, downloading updated attires, downloading AEW stars, downloading New Japan, downloading old WCW, downloading whatever you want. And if they're having trouble making these creations, then that should be addressed right away from the WWE 2K team, because this is the bread and butter, man. This is one of the biggest fan bases within the game. So if the creators aren't happy, chances are a lot of the community is not happy as well, because they're not getting those good creations. Gameplay offline is some of the most fun that I've had in a 2K game since WWE 2K14. They have had major welcomed additions within the gameplay that we have been waiting for quite some time. And it is definitely taking the right step to the gameplay that we've been wanting since SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. Don't get me wrong, the game plays like WWE 2K24. It's pretty much identical to what WWE 2K24 is, but with all the great additions that WWE 2K24 had, and now much more welcomed additions that 2K24 probably should have had. The game runs, in my opinion, smoother than WWE 2K24. Some of the banger-ass features that they've added this year, like body bruising, barricade diving, barricade damaging, and let's not forget that amazing third-person camera that just keeps entrances fresh every single time you watch them. And at first, I didn't like playing a match in third-person view, but after playing a few matches in third-person camera, it's really not bad at all. It actually gives you a whole new perspective on playing the game. You just kind of have to learn how to pick up your opponent all over again. But other than that, third-person cam is actually a lot of fun when you're playing offline. Not to mention, this is the first game since, I think, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 that we've had intergender wrestling, as well as women are able to bleed within this game now, which brings tons of quality of life to the women athletes within the game. Because I'm gonna be honest, I never liked using the women within the game because they didn't have any of the cool quality of life features that were added for the men over the years. This year, I find myself using the women just as much as the men, and I'm having an absolute blast. They brought the 2 new brawl arenas in, which pretty much makes everything destructible, which is absolutely fun, and they just brought that fun aspect back to the game that we haven't seen since SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, or things like Here Comes the Pain. They have throwbacks from all these old retro games, and they're just a fun arena to dive into and just explore in general. The underground match gives you a fantastic visual, and this is honestly a hidden gem within all of these other new features, because with the underground match, they have now introduced ledge attacks. The Bloodline Rules match is one of the funnest matches that I've ever played in a WWE 2K game. I can't explain how much joy this match truly brings me within the games. Keep in mind with this review, they are still working on this game and there's still going to be patches rolling out. We still got a fantastic DLC lineup that I can't wait for personally. I know there's 5 people within this DLC that people are not excited for, but I really don't care. That's never going away. This is a WWE thing, and WWE likes to have celebrities and basketball players and all that crazy stuff within their games every single year. Not too big of a deal to me. I will never use them personally, but the wrestlers that they have included within the DLC packs are going to be fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and give this game a 7 out of 10. Would I recommend this game to anybody? Sure. If you haven't played a WWE 2K game in many, many years, this is going to be a major, major upgrade to anything that you've ever been used to. But if you picked up 24, you were frustrated with 24, and you've been on the fence for WWE 2K25, I don't know, maybe hold off. It's going to go down in price eventually. I've never been one to change anybody's mind if they're enjoying the game or if they want to buy the game or not. Me personally, I'm a sucker for these games. I love these games. Even though it might have sounded harsh within this review, I love this game. I'm having a lot of fun within WWE 2K25. It does have its problems, but I'm used to it at this point with WWE 2K games. If you liked the video, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, guys.